Back again. This is going to be fun, another good discussion. Well, it's all been good discussions here today at the Smart Home Pavilion. But right now I'm speaking with Suzanne Olivier. She is the VP for Consumer Goods at Retail Industry at Desos System. Hope I got that pronunciation.
You did.
Right. That's high school French working for me right there. So who exactly is Desos System, and what's the relevance for the international, why would our audience care?
Great question. We like to say we're one of the largest companies nobody's ever heard of.
Okay.
So we are a software company. We focus on a range of products that really address the experience and the business solutions to design and develop a lot of the products that you see here. As a company, we're over $3 billion, one of the top 10 global enterprise providers. We're on the Forbes top 100 list of companies. And like I said, no one's ever heard of us. We've been around for roughly 37 years.
So when you say that, just to dive in a little bit deeper, like you say the experience, what is the experience you are designing or coming up with?
So let me give you some examples.
Okay.
In consumer goods and retail, we support 17,000 customers. Globally, we support 170,000. And so Tesla has used us since the beginning. That's not just a car, that's a driving experience.
Yes.
And when you think about some of our other brands, that's what they're trying to bring to life. Something more than just the product, something that drives a future that's different than we have today, something that fulfills not just consumer requirements, but desirements, as I like to call them, and maybe things we didn't even know we wanted. Like I don't think 20 years ago we would have said we want self-driving cars. Right. I don't think 100 years ago we would have said I want a self-charging car or an electric car. But there's a lot of visionary companies out there that are pulling these things into the future and creating an experience. And I think as a number of your guests have said, the experience is more important than the product, and the benefits have to be more important than the technology. And that's really at the core of what we focus on.
So what does Desos offer these customers that helps them create those experiences?
So we focus at our core on what we call, and it's a part of our core mission, we help our customers create products, create sustainable innovations in virtual universes to harmonize product nature and life. Now that's a really big statement.
That's a very big
statement. But if I peel that apart, we want to understand what does it mean to build the next great Boeing aircraft? They're a customer of ours. What does it mean to build the next generation of Tesla car? And you don't build sample aircraft anymore. And Honda, another customer, they used to have to build 60 cars to crash test them and prove that they were safe. Now they do that virtually. And they build one physical one to validate all of their tests. The aircraft, now I apologize for people that are sitting in cramped seats, but the whole customer experience is virtualized. The design, the development, the physical environment, the safety standards. I want to know that when that aircraft takes off, I've got micromillimeter precision. I want to know how it's going to react in different wind conditions, different electrical storms. What's the simulation quality of the seat, all of that. And you have to be able to do that faster, better, smarter than ever before because the customer cycles are shrinking. And so whether it's an aircraft or a fossil watch, I want to know that I can understand consumer sentiment. So we offer consumer sentiment analysis and trend gathering and be able to pull that information in extremely quickly. There's trillions of data points out there on the web. How can I analyze that? How can I see where my consumers might want products to go? How can I picture trends that maybe haven't even been verbalized yet? How do I use that then to define new products, new product categories? How do I then design those in 3D? From the early conceptual design, which is a lot like clay modeling, all the way through mechanical design and then simulation of that in a real world environment, because it's got to be right for the physics. It's not, Game of Thrones. It's not, I can jump over tall buildings. No, I have to be able to model this in the real world as a real person would use it, subject to the types of stresses that products will experience. And then ideally, to collect consumer feedback on that, I want to present a beautifully photorealistic product, gather the feedback, iterate on my product, get it out there, market it online so that I get consumer demand before I even have to go into production.
So if I'm designing a new refrigerator, I come to you and I go, I want to make the best refrigerator experience possible. You go through and, like you said, are able to virtually through whatever kinds of graphics, CAD, whatever.
Exactly.
Design everything precisely and then run it through real world.
We don't design any of the products. We design the software.
The software.
So a company like many of our customers would use, LG is a customer, Panasonic is a customer. They would use maybe our consumer analysis software or our 3D CAD design, mechanical, electrical, system simulation, all of that.
So you're the pickaxe and pan salesman at the gold rush, right? You're providing the tools that allow people to create whatever they're going to create.
The next gold rush.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. And so your specific role in the company?
So I came into the company with a background in retail. I worked 30 years in retail with brands like Calvin Klein and Reebok and Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works and great consumer brands. At the time that Desos System was moving from, shall we say, core industries to saying there's a new consumer marketplace and consumers are going to drive the directions of every industry. So I've been here 9 years and again, seen the evolution of things like driverless cars and all of that. And so my job is to understand what is the direction for the consumer goods industry and the retailers within that industry. What do consumers want? What do our customers want? And then bring that back into our R&D department so that we can enhance our products.
So what are some of we're at a smart home pavilion. What are some of the trends you're seeing in sort of smart home products that are coming out?
It's an interesting evolution because I think we'd all say we have rather busy lives today, and there's more information coming at us than we know what to do with. So the gentleman who was just on before made reference to nostalgia and retro-looking products. And what I'm seeing is a term that's out there called simplexity. I want a product that solves a complex need. It might be a smart refrigerator or more likely a smart smaller appliance because that's where people are going to invest first. But I want it to be easy to use, simple to use. When you buy a new smartphone, you do not read the manual. You open the box and you start using it. So your smart product has to be the same. It has to be easy to use, intuitive. The design has to be user-friendly. It has to fit form, function, but also feelings. You have to be able to relate to that product. So that's where good design comes into place. And so I'm seeing a blend of smart products with a nostalgic, simplistic, home cocooning kind of feel to them. I'm seeing that emerging. The other thing I'm seeing is, and it's maybe not as obvious, but it's the idea of the sharing economy. So we don't have the same skills that our parents had.
I have none.
Many of us like to eat well, and I think there's a resurgence of cooking in the home, which is driving a lot of cooking-related products. But many of us never learned to cook as we grew up. And yet we're really, really good at finding information when we need it. And so if you've ever looked up a recipe online, that's an example of knowledge sharing, not just I'm going to share a city bicycle or share an electric car, but the idea of knowledge sharing. And so I can consume that data when I need it, as I need it. I can watch videos and tutorials on how to cook. I have smarter products that will help me not burn my food and know when my fish is ready and not undercooked. And that's a real emerging trend. And again, that's the complexity that the product's helping me with, and the sharing economy bringing me knowledge just in time.
Yeah. So before we came on stage, we were talking about broken dishwashers, right? And you pointed out a flaw that was in a dishwasher, one of yours that broke down. But what are some of the things you see, like as somebody who gets, like literally facilitates getting inside a product, right? What are some of the things you see as like stumbling blocks, or some things that you wish, that you look and you go like, oh, I wish a lot of people weren't doing that?
Weren't doing that?
I guess what I'm trying to say is that, you know, we're here with retailers and manufacturers, and just some things to watch out for as they come up with their own designs, or some trends you see that maybe you're like, oh,
watch out.
Yeah, watch out for this.
I think they're sometimes smart for the sake of being smart.
Okay.
You know, and the danger is if I buy a smart product and it in itself is brilliant, but it doesn't connect to my other products, I've now bought an obsolete item, and in 2 or 3 years I'm going to have to replace that, maybe less. And it's going to taint my perception of that brand and potentially the retailer that sold it to me. And so I think products have to be aware, so the conscious kitchen is coming up. Products need to be able to talk to each other, which one of your other speakers mentioned. They also need to have a longer lifespan than we might perceive. And so products for a while were built for quick obsolescence, throw them away, replace them.
Yeah.
I think as we get into the home and well-being and personal health and all of that, the idea of conscious consumption also becomes, I don't want to throw out my product. First of all, because I paid a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
And secondly, because I want to have it for a long time and not create a landfill problem at the same time. So products should be more modular in design so that as technology evolves, as new benefits can be made available, people can upgrade their products, and it might be I'm upgrading the software, I might have to upgrade the firmware, I might have to swap out a physical module in my product to make it next generation.
Yeah.
But at least I don't have to throw out the fridge that might have cost me $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 in the first place, or the more expensive vacuum or toaster or hair dryer or coffee maker, whatever it is.
Right. So the trick there, though, is being able to, because you could swap out a screen on a fridge, but if the processor isn't fast enough to power all of that, right? So it's really, you know, because I feel like other people have tried this in creating modular things, and I think you're absolutely right? Like it's if it's a beautifully designed product, I don't want to get rid of it for all the reasons you said, but it's also being able to update the parts, you know, in the right order, or to keep up with everything and not getting lost in a sea of, oh, well, I updated this. I guess I forgot to update this, or do you know what I mean? Like just the education around that new sort of mindset.
And it's part of the holistic design process. You have to know how the product works together, what the intended usages are. I think the best brands are the ones who are looking 3, 5, 10, 20 years out and thinking how products will evolve. We're seeing, because we serve 12 different industries, we're seeing modularity be very important in aircraft, in automotive, in industrial equipment, because you don't go buy new aircraft that often, and you don't go buy new $100,000 robots for your factory. You have to be able to upgrade them. And that modularity is beginning to filter down into the most expensive home products, but I think also into small appliances and smart products as well.
So tell me about your emphasis on the smart kitchen.
The kitchen is still the heart of the home. It's increasingly where we entertain. You know, home styles are going back to large open kitchens with islands, not just because you want to be able to see what the kids are doing, but because your family and friends are congregating in the kitchen, and it needs to be beautiful. And those products should be functional and easy to use so that the chef or chefs in the family can spend time with their guests and not just have to focus on the cooking itself. But kitchen really is still the heart of the home. And so smart kitchens are a place where people are willing to spend that money to invest.
Do you have any are there any products that you're a big fan of that you have either worked on or not, or wish you had worked on?
Oh, not that I can name publicly.
Okay.
We work with a lot of brands that I cannot name. I think Tesla's a great company. I think P&G is a great company. A lot of what they're doing.
Do you maybe have something in your home already that you're like, oh, I really love this product?
I still have a more simple home personally.
Okay.
Because my husband and I are getting to the empty nester stage, so what we have has been with us for a long time. I'm a big fan of my Nespresso machine. It's not smart, it just makes good coffee.
Well, that's all you need.
That's all I need. I think that you know, we have to think about the realities of the world we live in. I live in the Boston area. We had a lovely 11-hour power failure last week. Thank goodness I have a gas stove and I'm still able to light it with a match. Yeah. But I couldn't get to my gas fireplace because they've made it child-proof, so I couldn't light the pilot there. And that's another example of we have to think about how is this product getting used? What are all the things that could happen to this product? So it's a great labor-saving device. I don't have to worry about cleaning up ash, but there's that little design flaw in there. Somebody didn't think about all the possible use cases. Right, so let's kind of go into that a little bit. What are some of the biggest challenges for brand owners who are considering new products? I think the biggest challenge is, again, don't think about the technology, don't think about the features. Take a step back and ask, what is the experience you are trying to create for your end consumer? Is it better quality air? Is it a better cooking experience? Is it a better cup of coffee, which may start with brewing the beans or roasting the beans and grinding the beans for the freshest possible coffee? So the coffee experience should then drive the benefits. And you might end up with multiple product models depending on how many features and benefits people are willing to pay for. But you're starting with the coffee experience, not, ooh, I can put a roaster in this machine, now what do I do with it?
Right. All right. What about forgetting those, what about when you get those products to market, when you have so many features, functions, and design considerations? Like how do you, like, I'm sure everything is made by committee, right? Especially with the, and not knowing your full list of customers,
Right.
but I can imagine if they're big companies, everything is done through multi-layers of management with many meetings, many conference calls, right? How do you kind of navigate all of that?
Sometimes it's committee, but I think the idea of global collaboration has really taken hold. Part of the industry that I work on also deals with fashion, footwear, and accessories. And so, you know, H&M is a great customer of ours, Fossil, Adidas. They're very innovative in the products that they bring to market. Now, they're not home products, but the city of design is not the same as the city of production management or the city of manufacture. And they've done a great job of figuring out how to collaborate globally in a 24/7 environment. And increasingly, the text-based information and all the visuals about bringing products to life are available for virtual collaboration. And that concept has to permeate getting all products to market because our trend cycle is shrinking so much.
Yeah.
It used to be that 3 to 5 years was a good design cycle for a hard goods product, and 12 to 18 months was a good design cycle for a fashion product. A fashion product is now somewhere in the 4-month range. And the trend cycle that used to be roughly a 52-week ramp up and die off is now 3 to 5 weeks. And that speed to market and that speed of trend is moving into the home goods area, and smart home in particular. I don't think there's a single product you could identify here at the show that isn't in multiple booths.
Yeah.
There's nothing that is so unique that multiple people haven't gotten onto it already. So how do you retain that first mover or fast follower advantage? You have to virtualize a lot of what you're doing. And so you've got to be able to use visual collaboration, visual communication, virtual design, simulation, get feedback from your consumer focus groups on virtual products before you commit to making tools, dies, molds, and production. And I would say the same thing to retailers. Test what your store is going to look like. Where would you feature something? Use virtual store design in the same way. It's available. I mean, we offer it, other companies offer it. So put that product in context of your store. Does it make sense to your consumer? Where would you position it? What would be the adjacencies? What would make that journey to the product both logical and attractive for your consumer? Maybe it doesn't make sense for certain retailers yet. Maybe it's a next year product, or maybe it's something they want to feature right up front and draw people in.
So how does that speed change what you do?
It makes it more interesting. I think we have to learn a lot from all of the sister industries that went before us. I've referred a few times to automotive and aerospace. We stand on the shoulders of those industries. They used to build sample aircraft. Yeah. And they used to put parts in wind tunnels, and they used to assemble them and put some poor test pilot up there in them. And that doesn't happen anymore. The 777 was the first digital aircraft. We have a new 30-year deal with Boeing to continue creating that new model. Yeah. And these are industries that used to be slow, pedantic, very much physical product design by committee, and they're not anymore. And we have to be able to bring that into everything that we do. And so I think it's the speed of change, the speed of innovation. It makes it more interesting. Yeah. It's challenging for us to keep up as a company, but it also makes it interesting for us. Yeah, interesting. I want to go kind of far afield here a little bit. Mm-hmm. Do you ever pay attention to sort of these platforms like Kickstarter or Indiegogo? I just wonder, like, they seem like they could use the virtual tools that you offer, because they offer, so many times they have a concept, and then when it gets to manufacturing, it falls down because they haven't taken into consideration something like that. Do you ever work with people are you mainly just like super scale size companies? No, and I'll give you that answer in 3 parts, for example. So we have an internal incubator we call the 3D Experience Lab. Uh-huh. Any company can come to us and make a pitch, and it's usually small inventors, companies of 1 and 2,
Yeah.
and they can make a pitch for their product. We will assign them an internal mentor. We will give them free access to tools,
Wow.
to software solutions.
Yeah.
And we will help position them in front of angel investors to continue their pitch.
That's awesome.
We also have some of our 3D design software that we make available for little or no cost.
Yeah.
To people who maybe have a young company, they don't want to necessarily be part of an incubation project, but they really need some help and assistance.
Yeah.
And we help incubate that as well. We also work with a lot of schools and universities. So it's something that we think a lot of because of this speed of innovation. And it's not just coming from the big companies, it's coming from very tiny companies as well who are doing things like self-driving, the equivalent of a self-driving car for aircraft. Or for helicopters. Now, we may not feel confident flying in them yet, but in 5-10 years, they'll be around.
It's just, as I cover products, you see them on Kickstarter, they get fully funded, they built their prototype, but when they get to manufacturing, they find that some compressor fails, or something overheats, or something doesn't conduct the way it was supposed to. So that's actually really interesting that you guys have that platform up there for that.
We do, and we actually have a fab lab in our headquarters in Boston and another one in Paris, where companies can use additive manufacturing to test out certain part designs and models. They can use our simulation software to ensure that something is manufacturable, and we'll give them guidance on things like that as well.
So as we wind up here, what's sort of the things, just thinking broad, I love to ask the trend question. What are some of the trends you're seeing in what you do, right? So whether that's, and without divulging anything, obviously, but just sort of broad trends you're seeing in terms of the design people are coming up with, or the way that they're using your solution, or the products you're seeing as it relates to sort of the smart kitchen.
So smart is no longer a question of if or even when, it's more on the how. And I think a lot of people have great ideas that they shouldn't be afraid to explore. I think there's products that are in people's heads now that will be on people's counters in 2 years. And that's the speed of change, that's the speed of innovation. I was at this show last year, and there's whole categories that have exploded that were barely a couple of products last year, or maybe not even on the floor at all. So I think that speed of change is a huge trend that I'm seeing everywhere, and I think it definitely impacts the smart kitchen. People, as the generation of first home buyers or second home buyers is investing, and investing a little bit more than just the bare bones of the first home, they want those smart products. They grew up digital. They're very comfortable using those products, and that's what they're expecting. Again, with that easy to use design, smart and connected, take the complexity out of my life, look great on my counter, and allow me to enjoy time with my family and friends.
Yeah, awesome. That's a great place to end. Susan Olivier, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, you're good. Yeah.